The first warning came not from the scanners, but from the birds. They didn't flee in panic, they just stopped. Every feathered shape in the canopy froze mid-chatter, wings tucked tight, eyes locked on something none of the squad could see yet. Silence crawled down the vines like cold water. Even the insects went mute. On any other day, that would have been enough to make a seasoned Galactic Recon unit take cover. But today's squad wasn't seasoned. Today's squad was made up of Academy cadets. And one of them was human. Cadet Ray Mercer tilted his head at the sudden hush. His helmet visor reflected the static green of the jungle. "Hey, is it just me, or did the forest just hit pause?" Captain Rahl, a reptilian officer with scales the color of rusted iron, swiveled his head slowly, tongue flicking out to taste the air. "Not just you. Something big is moving. Downwind." "Define big, sir," whispered Cadet Lore, whose species had 4 ears and still somehow managed to mishear orders. "Something that makes even the trees want to hide," Rahl hissed. The squad instinctively formed a semicircle, weapons ready, motion sensors blinking like nervous heartbeats. The sound of movement, slow, deliberate, heavy, rolled through the underbrush. Leaves shifted, vines trembled, the air grew denser, heavier. Rahl gestured sharply for silence. "Stay low. Eyes up." The brush ahead rustled once, twice, and then parted like a curtain under invisible claws. Out stepped a creature that didn't belong in any databank. Its body was sleek, long-limbed, built for speed and strength. Dark scales shimmered with faint bioluminescent streaks that pulsed with its heartbeat. Its eyes were enormous, predator eyes, forward-facing and unblinking. Every alien cadet froze. Lore's tendrils curled tight. Someone whispered, "Void, take me, that's a Kithrax," Rahl finished grimly. "Predator class Apex. They hunt in silence. They don't miss." The Kithrax lowered its head slightly, tail swaying. It wasn't growling. It didn't need to. The very air around it vibrated with unspoken threat. Rahl raised his plasma rifle slowly. "No sudden movements. We can still back away." "Wait," Ray said. Every helmet turned toward him. The human cadet wasn't in a defensive stance. He wasn't even holding his weapon properly. He was squinting at the creature, head tilted, as if trying to read its expression. "Sir," he said slowly, "are we sure it's hostile?" Rahl blinked all 4 eyelids in disbelief. "Cadet Mercer. It's a Kithrax. It has a jaw span wide enough to bite through armor plating. It eats everything smaller than a cargo hauler." "Yeah, but look at it," Ray said. "It's not attacking. It's just sniffing." The creature took one heavy step forward, claws digging into the moss. The ground shook. Rahl's frill flared. "Sniffing us to decide which order to eat us in, human." But Ray's grin only widened. No, look at the body language. Ears back, shoulders low. That's not aggression, that's uncertainty." "Uncertainty?" "Yeah," Ray said, lowering his rifle completely. "It's curious." Every other species in the clearing took a synchronized step back. "Mercer!" Rahl barked. "That's an order. Raise your—" Too late. The human was already walking forward. The Kithrax's gaze locked onto him, pupils narrowing to slits. Its chest expanded, inhaling deeply. Every muscle in its body coiled in tension. Ray raised one hand slowly, palm outward, the universal gesture of peace among most species. "Hey there, big guy," he said softly. "You lost?" Rahl whispered a prayer in his native tongue. "By the voids, he's lost his mind." The creature made a sound, a low, chest-deep rumble that vibrated through the ground. But it didn't lunge. Ray stopped a few meters away, keeping his movements slow, calm. "You've got some kind of resonance pattern in your vocalization, huh?" he murmured, half to himself. "Bet that's how you coordinate hunts." He crouched slightly, extending a hand, and the entire squad collectively died inside. The Kithrax lowered its massive head, nostrils flaring. Its breath was hot enough to fog Ray's visor. Its teeth glinted like wet obsidian. Then it sniffed him. Once. Twice. Ray grinned. Yeah. See? Not hungry. Just curious. Rawls' voice came through the calm, strangled. Human, if it bites your arm off, I'm not filing the paperwork. Ray laughed. Deal. Then, to everyone's absolute horror, the human took a slow step closer, and the Kithrax didn't move. Instead, its tail flicked once, gently, brushing the ground beside him. Rawls' frill stiffened. It's testing him. Or maybe it's just saying hi, Ray said cheerfully. The Kithrax tilted its head, eyes narrowing. Then, slowly, almost cautiously, it lowered its body to the ground, resting its chin on the moss. For a heartbeat, no one spoke. Then Lore whispered, Did the apex predator just lay down? Rawls' voice cracked like thunder. No one move. No one breathe. Ray knelt, still grinning. You're not so bad, huh? Just big and misunderstood. Behind him, a dozen alien cadets stared at the impossible sight of the galaxy's most feared predator sitting obediently in front of a human like a dog waiting for a treat. Finally, Rawl found his voice again. Mercer. Back away. Slowly. Can't, Ray said. Why not? Because, Ray said, pointing down. It just put its paw on my boot. Rawl blinked, recalculating everything he'd ever known about predator-prey relationships. It what? The Kithrax's massive front limb rested across Ray's foot, not pressing hard, just enough to keep him there. The creature's eyes were half-lidded now, its breathing steady. Rawl muttered, By all the stars, it's claiming you. Claiming? In predator language, that's a sign of possession. Of dominance. You're... Ray chuckled softly. Nah. Look at it. He raised his other hand and gently scratched along the creature's jawline, where the scales shifted into softer hide. See that tail? Lazy wag. Ears relaxed? This isn't dominance, Captain. This is trust. The Kithrax exhaled a deep, rumbling sigh. Rawls' jaw dropped open far enough that a small insect actually flew in and got stuck. Lore whispered, Sir, I think the predator just purred. It had. A deep, vibrating sound that rolled through the clearing like distant thunder, shaking moss loose from the trees. Ray sat cross-legged in front of it now, casually leaning back on his hands. See? It just wanted company. Probably hasn't seen anything with a heartbeat it doesn't have to chase. Rawl opened and closed his mouth several times before finally managing. Human, this is a combat simulation. You do not hug apex predators during a live field assessment. Technically, Ray said with a grin. I haven't hugged it yet. Yet? But the creature had already leaned closer, pressing its snout gently into Ray's chest. The human laughed softly, arms instinctively wrapping around the enormous skull. There we go, he murmured. You're just a big, scaly cat, huh? Somewhere deep in the forest, another roar echoed, sharp, distant, territorial. The Kithrax lifted its head, nostrils flaring, then made a low, answering growl. Rawl swore. There's another one. Ray glanced up calmly. Yeah. Sounds like a challenge call. You mean it's calling for backup? But the first Kithrax didn't look aggressive. Its scales pulsed with dull light, and it positioned itself slightly between Ray and the direction of the sound. Rawl's eyes widened. It's protecting him. Ray smirked. Told you. Not all predators are bad guys. Cadet Mercer, Rawl said slowly. If we survive this, I'm filing a psychological anomaly report so long it'll need its own storage drive. Hey, Ray said, still scratching the creature's snout. As long as you put in there that I made a new friend. The comms crackled with interference as the squad retreated toward their landing site, the Kithrax still sitting at the edge of the clearing, watching. It didn't follow, but when Ray waved, it flicked its tail once in response. Rawl refused to look back. We're leaving before that thing changes its mind. But even as they moved away, none of the jungle sounds returned. The birds stayed quiet, the leaves still. It was as if the forest itself was holding its breath, waiting to see if the strange, fearless human would come back. When the debrief started hours later, the report listed the event as a unique non-hostile contact scenario. The Academy's xenobiologists would spend months arguing over the footage. But to Ray Mercer, it was simpler. He'd met something terrifying, and instead of fighting it, he'd hugged it. And for that moment in the silence of the jungle, the universe itself had seemed to pause and smile back. The next morning, the Academy base camp was buzzing. Word had spread faster than an unsecured comm signal. The human cadet had made friends with the Kithrax. The same apex predator that had supposedly wiped out 3 survey teams and shredded a hover transport in the last decade. By the time Ray Mercer walked into the mess tent, every pair of alien eyes turned toward him like he was a ghost. Or a celebrity. Or both. He blinked. "Why's everyone staring?" Raoul looked up from his datapad with a glare that could cut glass. "Because, Cadet Mercer, I spent half the night rewriting my after-action report so it didn't sound like a fever dream." Ray poured himself a cup of something that approximated coffee and shrugged. "Hey, you said to establish peaceful first contact?" "I did." "You hugged it," Raoul hissed. "That's not protocol. That's suicide wearing a smile." Ray grinned. "Worked though, didn't it?" Raoul hissed so sharply his translator had to buffer. "Human if you ever." Before he could finish, the alarm klaxon screamed. The entire tent shook as a tremor rolled through the ground, rattling utensils and knocking a few cadets off their seats. Red lights flashed across the camp's perimeter monitors. "Seismic activity?" Lord guessed, scrambling to check his wrist console. Raoul's frill flared open. "No. That's movement. Something massive is coming this way." Every cadet in the tent froze. They didn't need scanners to tell them what it was. Ray sighed. "Oh, come on. Let me guess." On cue, the perimeter sensors began lighting up like a fireworks display, motion blips converging from multiple directions. Then the ground gave a deeper rumble, a low bass that every creature instinctively recognized as something alive. "Kithraxes," Raoul said grimly. "Plural." Lower said. "Like how plural?" The captain's claws tapped over the holographic map. "At least 4. No, 5. And they're heading straight for the base." The air filled with the whir of rifles charging, safety protocols disengaging. Every cadet ran for their stations. Raoul barked orders into the comms, trying to coordinate a defensive line, while the med team scrambled to secure the central dome. Ray didn't move. He just stood there, mug in hand, staring toward the jungle where the shadows were starting to shift. Raoul noticed and snarled. "Mercer! Move your soft, fragile, non-scaled hide to the barricade! Now!" Ray tilted his head. "Sir, maybe we don't need to fight them." Raoul actually groaned. "Stars preserve me, not this again." "I'm serious," Ray said, stepping forward. "What if they're not attacking? What if my buddy from yesterday brought his pack to, visit?" The captain slammed a clawed hand against the table. "Mercer! Apex predators do not visit!" Another tremor hit, hard enough to knock down a comm tower. The jungle edge bent and snapped as something enormous pushed through. Every weapon trained on the treeline. Then, with a sound like a collapsing forest, the first Kithrax stepped into view, the same one from yesterday, identifiable by the bioluminescent scar across its shoulder. Ray's grin spread. "See? That's him." Behind it, 4 more emerged, each slightly smaller but equally terrifying, moving in a loose formation that was unmistakably pack behavior. The entire camp went deathly silent. Raoul whispered, "They're coordinating, hurting us?" But the creatures didn't advance. They stopped just beyond the perimeter. The lead one, Ray's buddy, gave a low rumble that vibrated through the metal decking. Then it crouched. Not in an attack stance, but in a kind of bow. One by one, the others followed suit. The squad's comms exploded with overlapping voices. "Are they kneeling? Impossible! Predators don't. Did that one just lower its head?" Raoul could only stare. "This makes no sense." Ray took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Mercer!" Raoul barked. Get back here! But the human ignored him, walking past the barricade, hands open. He stopped a few meters away from the lead Kithrax. The air between them shimmered with heat and tension. Hey again, big guy, Ray said softly. You brought the family? The Kithrax exhaled, a slow rumble, lowering its snout until it was level with Ray's chest. The others kept their distance but mirrored the posture. Rawl's claws flexed against his rifle. If they lunge, I'm vaporizing all of them. Relax, Captain, Ray said. They're showing deference. Deference? Yeah. You said they're pack creatures, right? Looks like they just picked a new alpha. Rawl's head snapped toward him. You're telling me you outshrank an apex predator? Ray shrugged. I mean, not on purpose. The human crouched, and the Kithrax nudged his hand with its snout. One of the smaller ones sniffed at his boots, then, very carefully, leaned its massive head into his shoulder. Behind them, alien cadets whispered in disbelief. This can't be real. Maybe they're sick. Or he's emitting pheromones? Ray chuckled. Nah. It's just trust. Animals feel it when you're not afraid. Rawl was still frozen. His brain was visibly buffering. They fear nothing. Exactly, Ray said. So if I'm calm, they don't feel challenged. As if on cue, one of the other Kithraxes made a low, questioning noise. Ray mimicked it, poorly, but earnestly. Every alien jaw dropped as the entire pack froze, heads tilting toward him in eerie synchronization. Then, one by one, they answered, shorter, lighter growls that sounded almost conversational. Stars, Rawl muttered. He's communicating with them. Ray laughed. Nah, just vibing. The tension around the base started to ease. Weapons lowered. A few brave cadets peeked out from cover. Then the scanners lit up again. This time, from the opposite direction. Rawl's frill snapped up. Incoming movement, fast, numerous. More Kithrax? Ray asked. Rawl's eyes narrowed. No. Smaller signatures. Different thermal profiles. Predators, but not like them. Within seconds, the tree on the opposite side erupted as a swarm of smaller, spindly creatures poured out, sleek, insectoid, with needle-like limbs and chittering mandibles. The base erupted in chaos. Contact! Southeast ridge! Multiple hostiles, breaching perimeter! Ray spun. The Kithrax pack turned too, muscles coiling in an instant. The lead one roared, a sound that made the swarm hesitate. Rawl yelled. All units, open fire! Energy bolts lit the jungle. The chittering creatures screeched, scattering and regrouping. The Kithrax pack charged, not toward the base, but into the swarm. Claws flashed, tails cracked, fangs tore through the horde like thunder through smoke. The human just stood there, watching the apex predators fight for them. Rawl couldn't believe his own eyes. They're defending the base. Ray nodded. Told you they're not the bad guys. Explosions of dirt and plasma scorched the clearing. One of the smaller Kithraxes took a hit, shrieking in pain. Without hesitation, Ray sprinted forward, sliding across the mud toward the wounded creature. Mercer! Rawl shouted, but the human was already kneeling beside the predator's bleeding flank. He ripped open a med pack, ignoring the claws gouging the earth near his leg. Easy! Easy! He said, voice steady despite the chaos. You'll be fine. He tore strips of heat bandage and pressed them over the wound, his own armor scorched from stray plasma bursts. The creature's chest heaved, eyes flickering with pain, and then, slowly, its breathing steadied. The lead Kithrax roared again, a deafening command that sent the swarm scattering back into the trees. Silence returned. When the smoke cleared, the pack stood between the cadets and the jungle, their bioluminescent markings glowing faintly in the mist. Rawl approached carefully. His armor was scratched, his pride in tatters. Mercer, explain to me what in all the known systems just happened. Ray smiled tiredly, wiping mud from his visor. We made an alliance. An alliance? Yeah. They were probably being hunted by those bugs. They saw us, saw we weren't a threat, and figured safety in numbers. Rawl blinked. You're suggesting apex predators sought refuge from something else? Ray shrugged. Even top predators get scared sometimes. The captain looked from the Kithraxes to the human, then back again. You realize this defies every xenobiological study in existence. Guess they'll have to update the textbooks, Ray said with a grin. As the adrenaline faded, the Kithrax pack began to settle. The wounded one lay near the human, breathing slow and steady. Ray absent-mindedly rested a hand on its side, like it was a dog he'd patched up after a storm. Rawl sighed. You're either the luckiest or the most insane cadet I've ever commanded. Can it be both? Ray said. Rawl's frill fluttered in resignation. I'm too old for this. The captain turned toward the forest, where the last echoes of the swarm were fading. He knew this wasn't over. The Kithraxes wouldn't have fled unless something far worse was moving through the jungle. And now, somehow, their survival might depend on the one creature in the galaxy who thought monsters just needed a hug. As night fell, the camp lights flickered to life, casting long shadows across the clearing. The Kithrax pack lingered at the perimeter, glowing faintly like living sentinels. Inside the main dome, Rawl reviewed the sensor logs. The swarm had come from deep within the Forbidden Zone, territory marked as uninhabitable. Yet something was driving life out of it. He looked up at Ray, who was sitting cross-legged beside the resting Kithrax, humming softly to it. Human, Rawl said finally. Whatever's coming next, I hope it likes hugs too. Ray just grinned. If not, we'll teach it. The jungle did not sleep that night. Even under the canopy's heavy shadows, the air was restless, vines twitching, leaves trembling, distant calls rising and falling like uneasy breathing. Something had changed out there. Something big enough that even the Kithrax pack, normally apex and unchallenged, refused to leave the perimeter. Captain Rawl watched the monitors from inside the command dome, his claws drumming against the metal table. He'd reviewed the sensor logs half a dozen times already, but the data never stopped being terrifying. Mercer, he growled, these readings can't be right. Energy spikes this size don't occur in natural fauna. Ray looked up from where he was kneeling beside the resting Kithrax. Its wound had healed astonishingly fast, thanks to some improvised human field medicine and a lot of gentle talking. Maybe it's not fauna, Ray said. Maybe it's something else. Something else? Ray tapped the data feed, zooming in on a heat signature pulsing deep in the jungle's forbidden zone. Look at the pattern. That's rhythmic. It's moving like it has intent. Rawl narrowed his eyes. Intent implies intelligence. Ray shrugged. Then maybe we're not dealing with just another monster. Outside the dome, a low rumble rolled through the air. The Kithrax pack stirred restlessly, their glowing markings flickering in pulses that almost resembled speech. The lead Kithrax raised its head, nostrils flaring, and let out a growl that vibrated through the ground. Ray frowned. They feel it too. Before Rawl could reply, the alarm lights flashed crimson. The air crackled with static, and every display flickered simultaneously. Power fluctuations? Lord shouted from the console. Rawl barked. Switch to auxiliary, now! The lights died completely. A moment later, the jungle itself began to glow. Not softly, not naturally, the trees, the ground, even the mist lit up with an eerie bioluminescent shimmer, pulsing in perfect sync with that same rhythm on the scanners. Ray's voice was low. That's not environmental. Rawl's tongue flicked nervously. It's communicating. Broadcasting something. Then the roar came. It wasn't a single sound, it was thousands of tones layered together, like a choir of earthquakes and thunder given voice. Every Kithrax in the pack dropped low, ears flattened, eyes wide with primal fear. Rawl hissed. By the void, they're bowing. The ground shook again. Trees toppled somewhere in the dark. Ray stepped forward instinctively, eyes narrowing. Captain, we need to move the camp. Now. Agreed. All cadets. He didn't finish. A shape moved through the trees. No, not a shape, a shadow within shadows, massive and fluid, moving without sound despite its impossible size. The trilene exploded outward as it emerged. Even Rahl, who had seen war on 7 worlds, forgot how to breathe. The creature that stepped into the clearing dwarfed the Kithrax's. Its hide shimmered with plates of living metal, its eyes burned like twin suns. It was ancient, predator beyond apex, born from a biosphere that had survived extinctions. The air warped around it, dense with electromagnetic interference. Ray stared. "You've got to be kidding me," Rahl whispered. That's not in any database." "It shouldn't be," Ray said softly. "That thing evolved to erase evidence of itself." The creature turned its gaze toward the base, unhurried, as if studying them. Then it opened its maw, and light poured out. A shockwave of energy hit the camp like a hurricane, knocking cadets off their feet, shorting out every unshielded device. The Kithrax pack roared in defiance, forming a defensive line between the creature and the squad. "Shields up!" Rahl bellowed. "Shields are down, sir!" Lore yelled back. "That blast fried everything." Ray steadied himself, squinting through the smoke. The lead Kithrax, the one that had chosen him, wasn't backing down. It roared again, the sound layered with subharmonics that made the jungle itself vibrate. The massive predator responded with a flick of its tail, an impact that sent a shockwave through the ground and hurled 2 of the smaller Kithraxes into the trees. Ray's instincts flared. "Hey! Overgrown glow stick!" He shouted it before thinking, before reason could stop him. The enormous creature actually turned its head. Every alien in the vicinity collectively died inside. Rahl whispered. "Human, what are you doing?" "Buying time," Ray said. He took a breath and stepped forward, helmet lights flicking back on with manual override. "You wanted a leader, right? Let's see if it recognizes confidence." Rahl made a strangled sound. "It's going to recognize lunch." But the human was already moving closer. The creature's gaze locked onto him. The ground trembled with every breath it took. Behind Ray, the lead Kithrax let out a low, mournful sound, something between a growl and a plea. Its glowing patterns shifted rapidly, signaling in a rhythm too complex for the translators to parse. Ray looked back at it. "You don't want to fight it, do you?" The Kithrax's head lowered. Ray nodded. "Then let's try something else." He raised both hands, palms outward, the same gesture he'd used before. He took another step forward. Then another. The enormous creature tilted its head, as if trying to understand. Its tail flicked once, stirring a gust of wind strong enough to snap a sapling in half. Rahl hissed into his calm. "Mercer, fall back." "That's an order." Ray's voice came through, calm and steady. "Can't. It's watching me. If I move too fast, it'll strike." "Then what in the void are you doing?" Ray smiled faintly. "Talking." He took one more step and said quietly, "Hey there, big guy. You're the reason the pack came running, huh? They weren't hunting us, they were running from you." The creature's eyes pulsed, light rippling through its body like thought. Ray continued, "You're territorial. You think they crossed a line. But look at them. They're protecting us. Doesn't that tell you something?" The Kithrax pack behind him started to vocalize, short bursts, harmonic tones that rose and fell like speech. The massive creature responded with deeper rumbles, the sound waves shaking dust from the leaves. Rahl's translator flickered. "It's communicating. The frequencies, it's a hierarchy exchange." Ray nodded slowly. "They're negotiating dominance." "Mercer!" Rahl barked. "You are in the middle of a dominance negotiation between 2 apex predators." "Yeah," Ray said with a faint grin. "Feels like home." The massive creature stepped closer. Its eyes glowed brighter, heat rippling the air around it. Ray swallowed. "Okay. So not into hugs, huh?" It lowered its head. The sound it made was almost curious, a deep, resonant hum. Behind Ray, the lead Kithrax let out a roar and lunged, not at Ray, but past him, colliding with the larger creature in a burst of claws and fury. The jungle erupted into chaos. "Fall back!" Rahl screamed. All cadets, retreat! Ray didn't move. He watched as the two titans clashed, their roars splitting the night. The smaller Kithraxes joined the fight, harrying the giant's flanks, buying precious seconds. But it was clear they were losing. The larger beast's hide shrugged off claws and plasma alike. Ray's mind raced. There had to be a way, some pattern, some weakness, something human instinct could catch that scanners couldn't. Then he saw it. The creature's energy pulses weren't random. They were rhythmic, coordinated with its bioluminescent plates. Like a signal. Like a network. Captain? Ray shouted over the comms. It's linked to the environment. Those light pulses, it's drawing power from the bioluminescent field. Rawl's voice crackled through the static. Meaning? Meaning we cut the signal, we weaken it. How in the void do you propose we cut a forest? Ray looked around, saw the wreckage of a downed shuttle, its fuel cells still sparking. He sprinted for it. Mercer! Rawl yelled. What are you? Ray ripped open a panel, pulled out a power core, and twisted two conduits together. Sparks flared violently. Improvising. He hurled the sparking cell into a cluster of the glowing vines. The explosion ripped through the jungle like a thunderclap, fire consuming the light field. Instantly, the giant creature staggered. Its glow dimmed, the rhythm faltering. The lead Kithrax seized the moment. With a roar that shook the clouds, it leapt, slamming into the larger beast's neck, teeth finding purchase. Ray shouted, Now! Push it back! The squad opened fire. Plasma bolts tore through the smoke, hitting the creature's weakened flank. The Kithrax pack drove forward as one, claws and fangs tearing through armor like flesh. The giant roared, a sound of fury and pain, then stumbled backward into the burning trees. Ray dropped to one knee, panting, visor cracked, suit scorched. The creature stared at him one last time, eyes dimming, breath shaking the ground. Then, slowly, it turned and vanished into the night, the jungle collapsing behind it. Silence returned, shattered, smoking, alive. Rawl staggered forward, armor dented. Mercer, you insane, reckless, magnificent mammal! Ray looked up weakly. Hey, it worked, didn't it? The captain exhaled. You just saved us by blowing up the forest. Ray grinned. Only the glowing parts. The Kithrax pack gathered around them, breathing heavy, their bodies marked with scorched lines. The lead one limped toward Ray and lowered its head again, this time not in fear, but respect. Ray placed a hand against its jaw. Told you we could handle it together. The creature made a low, rumbling sound that almost sounded like laughter. That night, under the cracked dome of stars, the jungle was quiet again. But this time, it wasn't fear, it was peace. The cadets repaired what they could, the Kithraxes stood guard, and the air no longer pulsed with that alien rhythm. Captain Rawl stood beside Ray, who was sitting on a crate, staring into the embers. Rawl said quietly, You do realize no one at the Academy will believe this? Ray smiled faintly. They don't have to. The jungle knows. Rawl blinked. The jungle knows? Ray shrugged. Yeah. It stopped trying to kill us. I'll take that as gratitude. The captain shook his head, chuckling in disbelief. You're a strange creature, Mercer. Thanks, Captain. So are you. They sat in silence a while longer, the massive Kithrax pack lying peacefully nearby. For once, predator and prey, alien and human, shared the same breath, the same quiet relief. The forest floor trembled beneath their boots as the predator rose, no longer a hunter, no longer just a shadow in the canopy. It stood now, revealed in full light, a creature of glimmering scales and fur that shifted like liquid smoke, eyes burning with ultraviolet intensity. The air crackled around it, alive with static, as if the jungle itself was holding its breath. The squad froze. Every instinct screamed run. Every piece of training, every survival lesson said the same. But the human didn't move. Easy, Harper said softly. You look like you need a hug. The predator tilted its head. That single motion rippled through the air like a command. The creatures hidden in the foliage stopped their shrieks. The forest went utterly silent again, except for the distant, rhythmic hum of bioluminescent insects. Harper took a single step forward, boots sinking into the damp moss. Captain Zyrex hissed under his breath, claws flexing. "Harper, you insane mammal, stand down! That thing is about to." But the predator didn't strike. It let out a sound, low, rumbling, not a growl but a whine. The sound echoed strangely, like thunder trapped in glass. Harper slowly extended her hand, palm open, fingers loose, the way she'd approach a stray dog back home. "Hey there, big guy," she whispered. "No one's gonna hurt you." The creature's breathing deepened, heavy enough to ruffle her hair. Its maw opened slightly, revealing rows of translucent teeth, each glowing faintly from within. A drop of saliva hit the ground and sizzled like acid. The squad's monitors flared in warning colors, motion sensors screaming red, but Harper's heart rate didn't spike. "I see it," she said quietly into her comms. "Don't fire. Not unless I scream." "Human," Zyrex snapped, his mandibles clacking. "You will scream when it bites off your head." "Maybe," Harper replied, still smiling faintly. "But maybe it won't." The creature lowered itself, pressing one massive paw, each claw the length of her arm, into the soil. It sniffed the air again. Then, in a sound like air being sucked from a cave, it spoke. Not words exactly, but a mimicry. "Hu ma-en." The entire squad went deathly still. Harper blinked. "You can talk?" The predator's throat shimmered as if liquid sound was building up there. "Hu man, touch, safe." Rin nearly fainted. "Safe? It ate 2 drones." "Correction," Harper murmured, stepping closer. "It disabled 2 drones. Look." She pointed, and indeed, the wrecks behind the predator weren't shredded. They were dismantled. Carefully. Almost studied. Zyrex was trembling, his training torn between duty and disbelief. "You're saying this thing learned how to take apart our weapons?" "I'm saying," Harper said, "it's been watching us. And it's not just a beast." She took another step. Then another. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "You're scared, aren't you? They shot at you when you came close. You defended yourself." The predator's pupils expanded until its eyes became pools of dark violet. It lowered its head, almost shamefully. The moment stretched long enough to break hearts. Harper did the unthinkable. She reached out and pressed her hand to its snout. The surface wasn't slimy or scaly. It was warm. The creature exhaled, and the vapor wrapped around her arm like soft steam. She could feel its heartbeat, enormous and slow, echoing through her palm. "Yeah," she whispered. "You're not a monster. You're just alone." The creature made a sound, low, harmonic, like the hum of an enormous cello string. Then the ground pulsed. All around them, lights began to awaken, plants glowing brighter, animals stepping from hiding. The jungle responded to the predator's call, not with fear, but welcome. It wasn't commanding them. It was connecting. Rin gasped. It's a hive resonance. It's linked with the ecosystem." Harper smiled faintly. "More like empathy. Everything here's alive together. It just needed someone who didn't see it as a threat." Suddenly, a blinding beam of blue light lanced through the trees. A dropship. The Academy's Overwatch team had arrived. "Stand down, Cadet Harper!" Commander Drell's voice boomed from the ship's loudspeaker. "That creature is classified as a Class A predator. Disengage immediately." Harper turned her comm on. "Negative, Commander. It's intelligent. You fire now, and you start a war with the planet itself." "Cadet," Drell snapped, "your orders are to neutralize any threat to the squad." "That thing is a threat." The predator's eyes flicked toward the dropship. It growled, a deep, vibrating note that made the trees bend slightly. Energy built up in its throat, visible like lightning beneath its skin. "Don't!" Harper shouted, throwing herself between the creature and the ship. "Don't do it, big guy. They're just scared too." The creature's energy pulse faded slightly, confused. Drell's voice was sharp. Cadet Harper, move or we'll open fire! Harper didn't move. Her voice was soft but carried through every calm and every terrified heart. Commander, if we kill what we don't understand, then we never deserve to explore this galaxy. For a long moment, no one spoke. Even Drell hesitated. The Predator's massive eyes blinked once slowly. Then it turned away from the ship and lay down, the gesture unmistakably peaceful. Around it, the jungle seemed to sigh in relief. Drell's voice returned quieter. Bring it in, Cadet. Let's see what we're really dealing with. The dropship powered down its weapons. The squad exhaled as one. Rin fell to his knees, muttering, I cannot believe we didn't die. Harper smiled, resting her hand against the Predator's side. Told you. Just needed a hug. Hours later, under the shimmer of bioluminescent leaves, the creature, whom Harper named Echo, rested beside the squad's temporary camp. Its breathing rumbled softly, almost like a purr shaking their gear. Zyrex sat across from Harper, polishing his weapon, mandibles twitching in disbelief. You humans are impossible. I have fought 50 worlds, and I've never seen anyone approach a nightmare and decide to comfort it. Harper shrugged. Empathy works better than plasma sometimes. Sometimes, he muttered. You're still insane. Rin laughed weakly. She's insane, but alive. Which makes her the luckiest mammal in the galaxy. Harper looked out toward the sleeping jungle. Maybe not luck, she said softly. Maybe just, finally listening. She could feel Echo's heartbeat behind her, slow, deep, steady. The creature stirred, opening one glowing eye. Whoo, man! It rumbled again, voice clearer now. Friend. Harper smiled. Yeah, buddy. Friend. 3 days later, the Academy officially classified Echo as a sentient apex species, the first recorded on Joruin 9. Harper's report circulated across the galactic net, quoted and debated endlessly. Fear builds walls. Curiosity builds bridges. But the real story wasn't the report. It was the image. A single photo, captured by Rin's helmet cam, the massive predator resting beside the human, her arm around its neck, both illuminated by the gentle bioluminescent glow of the jungle. The caption beneath read, When the predator stalked the squad, the human thought it needed a hug. And across the galaxy, for the first time in centuries, 1,000 species paused before pulling a trigger, wondering what would happen if they reached out instead. Later that night, back aboard the Academy ship, Harper stood at the viewport, watching Joruin 9 spin slowly below. Zyrex joined her, silent at first. Do you think it will remember you? He asked. Harper smiled faintly. Oh, I think it already does. Below them, deep in the jungle's heart, a low, echoing hum answered, faint but unmistakable. Zyrex blinked, mandibles parting slightly. Was that? Yeah, Harper said, smiling wider. It's saying goodnight. The hum faded into the wind. The stars shimmered brighter. And somewhere, across galaxies filled with fear and misunderstanding, the legend of a single human who hugged a predator spread, not as a tale of madness, but of hope. Because sometimes, the scariest thing in the universe just needs someone brave enough to care.